Hiya peoples of the interwebs! So it's been a while since the last time I've done a speed paint, and this is my first time doing one with a voiceover, so bear with me. A while back in 2021 I did some redesigns of a few of the characters from My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. Now back then I only did 4 out of 6 of the main characters, and since then I've been getting a lot of My Little Pony on my For You page on TikTok. If you know, you know. And I thought it was about time for an update. Now, I decided to keep this video pretty short, so this will only be part 1, where I'll draw 3 out of the 6 main characters. For the designs of these ponies, I decided to set myself some goals and rules to follow, so these will overall just be my take on the main 6. I wanted to stay pretty faithful to the characters themselves and make the designs really clear that it's still the same characters, so I'm not going to make huge changes. I wanted to keep them simple and sweet and just have fun drawing cute silly horses. Altogether, these 3 took me around about 4.5 hours to draw. Right, now with the intro out of the way, let's get started on the actual speed paints, shall we? So starting off with Pinkie Pie, I originally really liked her old redesign, but looking back at it, yeah, I don't really know how to feel about it anymore. Now, I must admit, I haven't actually properly watched the new series of My Little Pony. The episodes I have seen were mostly through my younger sister when she was watching it, and me and my friend watched season 1 roughly over a year ago. Not saying that I didn't enjoy My Little Pony when I was younger, I just went on strike because I had been collecting all of the series 4 toys and didn't really like that they changed them, so refused to watch anything from the new series. Pinkie, out of the 3, actually took the least amount of time for this video. I knew I wanted her pose to be very squished and bouncy with a big fluffy mane and tail. Now from what I understand, Pinkie Pie is a pretty bubbly, friendly, energetic character, and I wanted all of this to show in this drawing, to showcase it in the shapes and the pose, which I think turned out pretty well. I ended up shortening her bangs from the original redesign so you could actually still see her eyes, and simplified what was happening with her hair, changing it from being tied up to being very loose and fluffy. Another change I made from the original is I took away the sprinkles that I added to her hair, as I felt that in the end they just made the design look really messy. But I did stick with making her coat have lighter pink spots to add to the energetic round vibe that I was going for. I also stuck with the 2-tone hair, creating a gradient from pink to a more yellowy orange colour, just to add some more interest into her design. I know it's in the name, Pinkie Pie, but I always thought that she was pink to a point of being kind of bland looking, and I wanted to move some of the colours from her cutie mark into her design. Choosing just yellow because I love me a pink and yellow colour scheme and didn't want to add too many different colours in because I thought that then it wouldn't be as explicit that she was still Pinkie Pie. I ended up adding lots of wispy bits into the hair because I can't help myself. I was originally going to keep the shading really simple and didn't do that. I made it shiny and I made it messy and I just messed around and had fun. Anyways, I think that she turned out pretty good in the end, much better than my original design at least, so at least there's that. So next up is Fluttershy. For a while when I was younger, even though I wasn't really watching the show, Fluttershy was probably my favourite out of the main cast. I always thought that she was really cute, which is in no way related to the fact that she has a pink and yellow colour scheme. No, not at all. And while I think that's changed in terms of who's my favourite, I still think she's a cutie. Out of all these 3 redesigns, Fluttershy was probably the one that I changed the least from the original character, bordering in more of a draw this in my style kind of thing rather than a redesign. The main change I made to her was just making her hair way more messy, having gotten messed up by hanging out in the forest all day with animals. So I filled it with lots of branches and leaves and just sticky outy bits. And while I did something similar in the initial redesign, there were way more flowers involved. And for the sake of not cluttering the design, for a similar reason to why I left out the sprinkles and Pinkie Pies, I decided to not include them in this one. I had to mess with the hair for quite a while to actually make it look the way I wanted, because I really liked the way part of her hair swooped onto the other side of her face as it did in the initial redesign. But it was a different style and angle, so it took a lot of playing around with to get it to look exactly the way I wanted, but I got there eventually. I'm also a big fan of the headcanon that her wings would be smaller than most other Pegasuses, alluding to either her not being able to fly or just having a lot of difficulty doing so. Because in the show you don't actually see her fly around very often. You see lots of the other Pegasus flying everywhere, but not Fluttershy, she tends to walk. So this was also something I added into this design, just generally making her wings smaller than you'll see Rainbow Dash's are later. Another thing, unlike Pinkie Pie, I didn't make any changes into her colour palette. Like I said before, I simply like the colour combo, so I didn't really feel the need to make any changes to it. And while I think that Fluttershy was probably my weakest out of the three in this video, design-wise, I still think that she is recognisable as the character while not looking exactly the same, so I think I achieved my goals there. And you know, that's good enough for me. Anyway, I'll leave you alone to the rest of this drawing. Now for this final part, we're back with Rarity. Rarity is a character I particularly like because she's a pretty good example of a strong female character that is still feminine and unafraid to embrace that side of herself. She's confident, loves to be pampered, but in a way that doesn't make her too off-putting or a villain to the story, which is really cool to see, really. Rarity was the character that I changed the most in my initial redesign back in 2021. But I kept barely anything from the initial redesign into this new one. It was always the one I was the least happy with. There was always, I don't know, something about it that I really didn't like. She was also the one that took me the longest out of all the three in this video to draw. A big change I made from the first redesign was just her hair. I did like her hair in the first redesign in its little ponytail, curly nature, but I did feel like it didn't fit her character as much as I wanted it to. Now, if you thought I messed around a bunch with Fluttershy's hair, you've seen nothing yet, because I really wanted to give her a bun in this redesign. I just could not get it, for the life of me, to look the way I wanted it to. So it just wasn't pretty enough. So I ended up scrapping the bun in favour of making her hair even longer than in the original design. I also debated back a bit and forth on whether I should give her the typical headcanon unicorn tail, where it's really sleek and long, with the hair only being attached to the very tip of the tail. And in the end, I settled with keeping it long because I thought it made her look more interesting. Another thing you might notice in this design is she actually has, like, definitive hooves, while none of the other ponies I've drawn do. I just figured it suited her character more, because let's be honest, she would definitely paint her, like, hooves, as in paint her nails. She would definitely do that, so I made her hooves more noticeable in this one. For her pose, I really wanted to convey her elegance and confidence, so I put her in a pose where she's essentially showing off. She knows she's pretty, and she's not afraid to show it. Other than her hair, the other thing in the initial redesign that made her look very different from her original character was that I made her grey instead of white. And to be honest, I don't like how it looked. So I got it to change back to just being white. Not saying I didn't flirt with the idea of adding some grey to the design, just that I didn't like how it looked, so I got rid of it. Another thing that changed from the first redesign was I toned down the accessories that I gave her. they all felt pretty disjointed and mismatched and just a bit all over the place really, so instead I went with something a bit more simple, instead going with kind of a toga inspired dress that she definitely made herself, like the goddess she is. Anyways, I'm pretty happy with how she turned out, and while she may not be as different to her original design as her initial redesign was, I'm way happier with how she looks this time around. Anyway, I'll let the speed paint finish itself and bring you back in for the outro. Anyways, that's it for this video. What did you think? This is my first time making a video in this format, so feel free to let me know what you think. I'm not sure when I'll release a part 2 or where I'll do the other 3 of the main cast, but know it's coming at some point soon. Hope you all had a good time watching. See you later. Bye!